All right, well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. My name is Kevin, and we are here to check out the 2014 Acura RLX, a vehicle I have been looking around everywhere for because nobody seems to have one. So I finally found out, who do we have to thank for this little opportunity? It is actually Cabriolet Motors here in Raleigh, North Carolina. So huge shout out to them. If you're interested in this vehicle, please check out their website, because if you like this Acura, great, but they have a slew of other automobiles that might interest you. A couple Ferraris here and there, a little what do you call it, C8 Corvette. They got a 2020 matte black one. So peruse their website if you would like, and take advantage of whatever vehicles that they have here, including this one, because this is 100,000 miles, priced at, I don't know, 13 grand or whatever. So that's the main reason why I'm here, to check out this vehicle. You know, nice, big, baller, prestigious Acura RLX, right? All right, enough of that. Let's just get out on the road. But yeah, I'll leave the dealership information in the description box below. Okay, now, if you didn't know already, I actually already did a review on a 2020 Acura RLX, and I love that car. And that's why I'm here to check out this older one, because these are very underrated vehicles. You know, I've reviewed the TLX, I've owned the TSX and all that good stuff, and I've enjoyed all of them. But however, the press doesn't really seem to appreciate them, and I don't understand why, because first of all, just starting out with the looks, this obviously got redesigned in 2014, and it looks stunning. This is kind of where the whole jewel headlight thing started, right? Nice large vehicle, but you know, I like the proportions, classy looking, especially, you know, used. This thing has aged extremely well, and I really appreciate that. But here's the thing, you know, dynamically, I guess a lot of these car reviewers don't really appreciate these cars because it's front wheel drive based or whatever. And that's just pure nonsense, because there's a couple of benefits to that. Why I really appreciate Acura for doing this, it's because, you know, this car, it's about 196 inches long. It's their flagship car. Most like rear wheel drive flagships are over 200 inches long, very large automobiles, and that's great, and I appreciate that. However, in this smaller stature, because it's front wheel drive, there's not this huge, you know, drivetrain thing going on in the back, so you have plenty of space, exact same as you would get in like a Lexus LS or something like that. And I'll touch on more of that in the interior segment. And also, these Acura cars are more like all-weather friendly. You know, you put a good set of all-season tires on here, or even winter tires, you can tackle pretty much any climate in these vehicles. Because it's not that large, dude, like this thing feels half of its size. Like, it is so impressive what they've been able to do here. You can just fit into little corners and stuff here. No real issues. You're not stressed out driving this thing. And let me tell you, this little chassis is tremendous. And yes, this thing is fitted with that 3.5 liter V6 engine, which is glorious, by the way. It produces about 310 horsepower and about 272 pounds-feet of torque, which is just a great number for sure. You know, everything about all the inputs, everything reacts so well, and I really appreciate that. Now here's another thing. This thing is fitted with a 6-speed automatic. Another thing that probably gets a lot of flack because it's not an 8 or a 12-speed transmission. And I mean, there's just literally no need for a 8 or a 10-speed transmission, because it's just gonna be gear hunting all the time. And that's, you know, I said this multiple times with, like, you know, Mazda reviews and all that good stuff. Look at this thing. It just grips, no issues. For street driving, it is just so satisfying. It's tremendous. It's effortless for street driving. It's just that naturally aspirated V6, it's something that you don't really get. And yeah, I get it. For 50 grand brand new, these things don't make a whole lot of sense to most people unless you're leasing it. But, you know, used, these things become quite the value proposition, because this is just such an eloquent driving experience. It is so damn quiet and comfortable, and that's something I said multiple times about even the Acura TLX. Very quiet, very comfortable car. They really nail the comfort of these vehicles, and I really appreciate that. And also, these vehicles are aided by a double wishbone proper suspension up front. You know, Acura always likes to tout that with the RLX models, because it's rare. It's something that even the German competition can pretty much learn from. I'm about to chuck this thing into this corner here. There's no issues with grip with this car whatsoever. It just handles everything so well. And it's got the multi-link in the rear, of course. Power is great, you know. No, it's not some V8 twin turbo nonsense thing. But then again, it doesn't need to be, because it's just a car that you can be putting around on the street. And because of that, and because it only weighs about 4,000 pounds, which is pretty damn light for a full-size luxury sedan, this thing gets about 20 city, 30 highway. Yes, you need to put premium fuel in it, but that is very appropriate for a street car you have to drive every day. You can kind of pile on the miles. Now, here's one of the few negatives I noticed with this thing. This is kind of that first generation where they started to introduce that cylinder deactivation crap. And this is where you need to go out and seek out a, aftermarket warranty, because it does shut off the cylinders. It will run on about 3 cylinders and all that stuff. And, you know, that's not going to be the best for reliability. However, I mean, it is what it is, but it's still that great traditional 3.5 liter V6 that's super reliable and that people really seem to be appreciating with these Acura cars. So it's still great to rev out and experience that VTEC and all that good stuff. I really do like that a lot. Brakes, no issues braking this car. It doesn't shoot you through the front windshield or anything like that. And it's interesting to compare this with like a Lexus LS or something like that, because truth be told, this is actually a little bit more fun to drive. It's a little bit more tossable because it is that smallest kind of full-size luxury sedan that you can kind of get. And, you know, with 100,000 miles, there's no real issues or anything like that. This is actually like that first generation where it came with all the safety features, you know, pretty much drives itself actually with the lane keep assist and all that good stuff. So if you like that type of technology, it's that first generation where they introduced all this stuff. And this thing will absolutely get away from you speed-wise. I mean, you can be doing 10, 20 miles over the speed limit and not even know it, actually. That's just a lane departure crap going off. But it's a very refined experience. If you saw my 2020 RLX review, you will see that I pretty much said the same thing. You know, this car drives like nothing else on the market. You know, again, it's not like an Audi. I get that most Audis are also kind of, you know, front-wheel drive based. However, this does not feel like that either. It has like its own Japanese light on its toes feel. I mean, it's just tremendous to drive this thing around. I'm not just saying that just to be saying it. It's truly like a car that, you know, I've driven the TSXs, the TLXs. I love the way those cars drive. They have a very unique feel that's all on its own. This is the front-wheel drive version, so it has that p-aws function. So it's got the rear-wheel steering. It's very unique stuff. Very tight kind of turn-ins and all that. But yes, the ride quality is great, and also the quietness is also a tremendous part with these Acura vehicles. Even in some cases, even better than certain Lexus cars, how quiet it is, because I've noticed some wind noise at speed, and that's pretty much non-existent with these Acura vehicles. There's a little backup camera here. So that's a quick little look at driving the vehicle. You know, it's been tremendous driving this car. I mean, it drives, honestly, does it drive similar to the 2020? Kind of. I mean, it's got that similar feel. Actually, almost drives identical to that car, to be honest with you. It's I don't really detect too much of a difference there. It's just, I love how big, comfy, and plush it is. And it's got that own, like, you know, it's front-wheel drive based, but there's no like torque steer or anything like that. It's very well calibrated, and you know, you would assume so. You know, being a 50K Honda Acura product, you know, double wishbone suspension. You know, Honda in general is just like a great driving automobile. So it's just like, you know, when they go flagship-wise, it's very underrated what they've been able to do with this, and I think it's more than enough for most people to enjoy out on the road. It's very plush, and it's always going to be cheaper. You know, most people, you don't like Genesis, so Acura is kind of like that more budget version of Lexus. You know, usually a little bit cheaper to buy into. And you know, you can still get cheap warranties on these things, you know, probably like $2,000, and pretty much you're covered. You don't have to really think about anything. So that's pretty good. I really appreciate that. Now on to the interior, because this is in fact a pretty little special place, because this is that, again, that first generation of this interior and all that stuff. It's got the double pane glass, of course, which is also aiding in the quietness of this vehicle. You know, of course they use a lot of sound deadening materials. You know, it's another thing they like to tout for this generation. But you know, one touch up and down. You know, this is, you might look at this and think it's like a TLX, and in a lot of ways it is, but there's a lot more soft touch padded materials all around compared to the TLX, of course, and that makes sense, right? Yeah, the one touch up and down windows, you have the memory seats, two-way, Krell audio system. That's the big kind of option with this car. I'm assuming with all the gadgets that this car has, the way it's fully loaded option now, this is a $60,000 vehicle when it first came out, so there is that. And the Krell audio system, it really does sound legit. They use like the metal speaker grills and all that to reduce the vibrations and all that stuff. It's just, it is a great audio system. Acura, even their ELS sound system is very good, so I appreciate that. Now, you know, it is a 100,000 mile vehicle. Overall, it's aged extremely well. I have noticed some wear on the steering wheel here, which is kind of rare. I don't really typically notice that with these Acura cars. The steering wheels do tend to hold up pretty well. You know, seats are pretty good. Slight wrinkles here up top here with the shoulder bolsters, I guess. So I didn't notice that here, but everything else, you know, nothing's too crazy here. You know, it's not creaking and rattling. Again, Acura, Lexus, and Genesis are like the three cars that age this well with this type of mileage. It's very solid, well put together. You know, it might not be the best materials in the world. Yes, you know, the RLX is a little bit more soft pattern. That's great. However, you know, it's not Italian leather, you know, slathered all across here. It doesn't need to be, because it's just a solid, well put together cabin space. You know, the gauge cluster, you know, very legible, easy to read. This steering wheel, perfect size. I love gripping onto these things. And the nice little plastic paddle shifters, if you're going to use that. And it actually does work pretty good in these cars because it's only a 6-speed. It does react pretty good. Seats are tremendously comfortable, just like it is in like a TLX or whatever. You know, I'm assuming this is some type of, this is probably like the real leather or whatever, but you know, this is a very comfortable seat, and I appreciate that. It's very non-fatiguing, this car, you know, with how quiet it is, with how well it rides with these seats. Very good stuff. Door pocket space, pretty decent size. Two little cup holders here. Have a little power outlet up here. You know, this wood actually looks pretty good. It's not overly glossy. I do appreciate that. Nice traditional kind of gear lever here. You have a little sport mode, and also it's a electric parking brake, so you have that going on as well. Now this infotainment, you know, this is where the nonsense kind of started. This whole dual screen thing, it's still very cumbersome to use. It's not really the best thing in the world, especially since the climate control is integrated with the screen. So that's the only sucky part I noticed with this thing. It's the same thing with the TLXs and all that stuff. That's the main thing. Not a fan of it, but it is what it is. If you own the car, if you live with the car, you'll probably get used to it. But all the functions work in here, all the electronics. There's no stupid check engine lights. You know, they prepare all these cars. There's only a slight little, you know, bump in the back. That's the only thing I've noticed with this car. A little scratch, but that's about it. Otherwise, you know, practicality, you know, it's pretty great. Nice, huge center armrest here, similar to like a pickup truck. Honestly, I think it's huge. Aux cable, USB, all that good stuff. You know, you have the heated seats here. I don't believe there's any cooled seats, but you know, it is what it is. And pretty much all the little lane departures, you know, the thing will pretty much drive itself. It's got all the little safety functions here. So that's pretty great to see, you know, if you're interested in all that good stuff. You know, it's accurate, very easy to see out of, simple car to drive. Again, it feels half its size. I like that. Now let's talk about the rear seats, because, you know, any executive car, you got to talk about the rear seats. Plenty of space back there, similar to a Lexus LS, despite it not being as long as one of those full-size rear-wheel drive luxury sedans. 5'11", you know, the step in height is great with these full-size luxury cars. You know, peasant blockers all around. The side, you know, sun blockers are actually manual operated. You actually had to, like, you know, lift it up, but you know, it's great. I love cars that come with that. But the rear one is actually electronically controlled, which is pretty great. And the trunk is like one of the biggest I've ever seen. Dude, that is a massive trunk. And this is, if you're looking at a TLX and this, especially if you're getting it with a warranty, you know, aftermarket warranty, this is a way bigger car, way more substantial, drives better. It's actually like the TLX, but better in every single way. And the trunk is like double the size. Massive trunk. There is no spare tire back there. It's like a fix-a-flat thing, so there's that. But there's some good storage even underneath there as well, so that's pretty good. So as a whole, you know, I love the Acura cars. I love the way they drive and feel out on the road. You know, I'm not like the rest of these journalists. You know, I get the appeal of these cars. Sure, they have their own little quirks here and there. You know, like this one has a cylinder deactivation, but again, just pay up for a aftermarket warranty someplace. You know, just do your research on that. And, you know, this dealership will handle all the financing stuff. They do all that good stuff. And everything checks out with this car. You know, drives well, no creaks and rattles, and no issues with this car. So there is that. And it's 100,000 miles later, or about 96,000 miles. You know, I apologize, whatever. It's close enough. And there it is. That's pretty much the RLX in a nutshell. Hopefully you found value with this car. I like the way these cars age. So if you're in the market for one of these, there you go. And also if you're an owner of these, you know, high mileage Acura cars, please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I would greatly appreciate it, and so will the other viewers out there. So with that, thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.